From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Line. I am Ben Hall. Fun night tonight. We are talking all about politics. Of course, the New Hampshire primary is underway, voting all day today. What will happen? What will the impact be once everything is decided tonight? We are very happy to have with us someone who can help us understand that better. But also, we want to hear from you. This is one of the few places you can call in and voice your opinion on all of this, so we certainly want to hear from you. But thank you for Dr. Thomas Swartz coming in. Thank you, Dr. Swartz, for coming in. Vanderbilt professor of political science. You've been here before. Bottom line, how important is tonight? New Hampshire is do or die for some of these candidates, right?
Oh, yeah. No, it is. In the past, it used to have a stronger predictive record for some of the presidential candidates, but it's not been quite as predictive in more recent years. Hillary Clinton, for example, won 8 years ago and didn't go on to win the nomination. But it has often it winnows the field. A number of candidates probably will drop out as a result of New Hampshire. It tends to produce a certain amount of momentum, and it will be it's the first time people have actually voted as opposed to the caucusing, and so it always has it's had a big impact, almost a big impact going back almost more than 60 years, 70 years.
And it winnows the field. Certainly on the Republican side, there are probably people that are ready for it to be winnowed because we've seen these big debates. And what do we see on the Republican side? How many people do you think may drop out, and just kind of what may happen when all the dust settles tonight?
Well, you've still got almost 9 or 10 official Republican candidates, and it's possible some of the minor candidates, I mean, Carly Fiorina might drop out. She's not expected to do very well. One of the governors might drop out if either the Kasich, Christie, or Bush. It is possible that you'll see at least a few of the candidates drop. Ben Carson also possible, although unlikely since he might want to make his last stand in South Carolina. So it may not winnow quite as much as was perceived because of Marco Rubio's misstep at the debate. A number of people thought he would emerge so strong out of here that most of the governors would be gone. And that doesn't seem to be the case now.
What is the MO of New Hampshire voters? Certainly in Iowa, you hear they're very conservative. There's a evangelical sort of thought that is there. What kind of is representative of New Hampshire?
Representative of New Hampshire is often a fierce independence. Oftentimes, it's not as religious a state as Iowa, so the evangelical vote's smaller. But it used to be a fiercely, the license plate was live free or die, and they opposed any state income tax, similar to what we have here in Tennessee, but very unlike the rest of New England. It's probably the only state in New England that's still possible that the Republicans could actually win. So it's more evenly balanced as a state between Democrats and Republicans, but with a strong number of independent voters who sometimes switch between the Democratic and Republican primaries. And will be an interesting indicator tonight to see where those independents go, whether they choose to vote in the Democratic or Republican race. And
I saw somewhere that it is believed that up to 12% of voters don't make up their mind in New Hampshire until they're in line. And when you say they're independent, that would maybe indicate that. And maybe that's an exaggeration. I don't know. And I don't know how you even know that. But it sounds like we see these polls, and we've seen them day after day for weeks and months. But a lot of decisions are being made today, maybe at the very last minute.
Yes, and there have been in the past surprises because of that, because the polling was done earlier, and then there was a major change. Barack Obama was thought to be fairly far ahead in 2008. Hillary Clinton's win was a surprise at the time. So the polls that are out, the exit polls that were done today, did show a fairly large number of undecideds or people who said they were undecided until the last few days, especially on the Republican side.
All right, we have a news story from CBS News that kind of just sets the table, kind of gives us an idea of what's going on there. Why don't we show that story, then we'll come back, we'll take a few calls, and we'll just continue the conversation. But this is all that is going on in New Hampshire from CBS News.
It's a small state and the very first to drop an actual ballot into a box, and that means the people who live here get a lot of individual attention from the candidates. We talked to voters and political experts who say the biggest impact New Hampshire has on this race is that it actually weeds out candidates from the race. It's widely expected that after today we're going to see a lot more candidates start dropping out of the race, as New Hampshire has its say.
For the last couple of weeks, New Hampshire has been the center of the political universe. But this morning, past all the campaign signs, there was a point where that didn't matter anymore. When New Hampshire primary voters stepped into the voting booth, they got one of the first says in this presidential race, something many took to heart.
I think New Hampshire matters, and I think we help set the trend for the rest of the country.
The tradition of the New Hampshire presidential primary is very unique.
It is a small state that gets a lot of attention for its choice for president.
The fact is that we're not looking for influence. People here are looking to engage civically. They're looking to weed these candidates out.
The concerns of people in New Hampshire may not be the same as in big urban areas, but at least all of the ideas and issues get out on the table.
So how often do the choices made here actually turn into a candidate becoming the nominee?
For quite some time, we did have this saying, always first, always right.
The track record isn't the best over the last few decades. Since 1980, the winner of the New Hampshire primary has gone on to win the Republican nomination 3 out of 5 times. For the Democrats, since 1984, 3 out of 6 primary winners got the party's nomination. They are proud to cast that vote, though.
This is the only place in the nation where you can really ask a question and then ask a follow-up question of a candidate.
And for just a while, be the center of the political universe.
People get a chance to see the character of the candidates.
All right, so that gave you some overview of what is going on in New Hampshire. Let's go to the phones here. Let's go to Jay. Hello, Jay.
Good evening, gentlemen. I love politics.
Yeah, it's fun.
Professor, I think that answered my question about New Hampshire, how important New Hampshire is, and what the percentage is on the nominee on both sides. And also, I think it's going to be a 3-man race. I think it's going to come down to Trump, Cruz, and Rubio myself, and I just wondered what your thoughts were, and how do you think the southern states, I know we got Super Tuesdays coming up, and I just wondered what your thoughts were on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Trump, Cruz, and Rubio. What are your thoughts on that and the role southern states will play?
Well, it looked like that was going to be the case, Trump, Cruz, and Rubio. I'm not so sure. I think it will really depend. I think one of the governors could emerge as a viable contender. Rubio's stumble in the debate was significant enough, it seems, that a number of people are raising questions about whether he's strong enough to go up against Hillary Clinton. The Trump-Cruz dynamic will continue, dividing somewhat the more conservative voters. So it may be a 3-man race after tonight if Rubio does very well, but if he stumbles or if he finishes a 4th or 5th, I think it could, one of the governors could emerge and challenge in the southern states. And in the southern states, I think it'll be an interesting dynamic. You know, Tennessee tended to vote more conservative in the last Republican primary. The evangelical vote was larger. Romney didn't do as well here. So it could be a mixed bag in the southeastern primaries, and it may certainly tilt the nomination toward a more conservative candidate.
It's interesting that it looks like in some of the polls, Jeb Bush is coming back a little bit.
Right.
He's been so far down, surprisingly low in the polls. Now New Hampshire appears to be looking at him again. You know, and I thought if he didn't do well in New Hampshire, he just gets out.
Right.
But now if he can do well, then he stays in, goes to South Carolina. Do you think one governor emerges? Obviously, the last caller thinks no governor.
Right.
Do you think one of these 3 governors emerges? Kasich is another one who they say may do well.
Right.
And once you do well, he said he's already going down to South Carolina. I guess, how many do you think may drop out of these governors after tonight?
I think one of the keys may be Chris Christie. If he doesn't get the bounce that he had hoped for from the debate, if he doesn't get that, it might be harder for him to continue. South Carolina is a little bit more favorable to Bush. If he does well enough in New Hampshire, his brother, in fact, put away John McCain after losing in New Hampshire back in 2000. So it'd be good territory for Bush if he gets the surprise surprise vote that at least it looked like he might be surging toward the end. It's still, this is all very uncertain, and I think this is why the election tonight really will matter down the way as to be after Trump, who finishes second, third, and fourth.
We can we'll take a break. We'll take some more calls, and then we're going to just talk about the anger that people seem to have, and historically, how unusual is that? So we'll take a break. If you want to call, there's the number 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Be back right after this.